Hello everybody, welcome to the live stream. Hope you are doing well. Oh man, it's a great Saturday. We got a plenty good topic today. Uh, Hello everybody, welcome. We're gonna talk about how so on National Day, right, in China, there was a celebration which they do every single year. Happens on the night of September 30th, which is before the October 1st National Day, or as I like to refer to as the Day of Shame. Something weird happened there. So we're gonna explain that. And then we're also going to talk about how there is a Chinese billionaire who has been in prison since 2020, and he fell really ill. So his daughter penned an open letter to try to get him out of China. So we're going to talk about that, as well as we have some videos to talk about. But this topic here is very interesting because if you guys watch my videos from about 2 months ago now, maybe even a little bit less, 2 months ago, I believe. It was in July, right? So there was something called a third plenum that happened. And that's basically a very important meeting because the main focus of that meeting is talking about the economy. And there was a rumor about how Xi Jinping had a stroke, and subsequently, he disappeared a little bit. I made a video saying that that might not be the case. But about a month later, I made another video saying that he did have a health complication, possibly a stroke, because he went to surgery. But since then, there's been a lot of weird stuff that's happened in China. So we're going to kind of point that out to you guys. So let's see. Before we go on, though, what is, because I was thinking of asking you guys, what would you think is the most possible, and let me know in the comments, what would you think would be the most possible scenario going forward in China, right? Like, do you think Xi Jinping is on a trajectory to, completely dominate the political side of things and until potentially his death? Or do you think there could possibly be internal coups happening? Because right now the rumors, let me tell you, they're flying, right? The rumor mill is turning. There's a lot of different rumors going on. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. Happy to see you guys. So, but let's first talk about this, okay? So this reception happened on September 30th, the night of. Xi Jinping gave a speech, and in his really weird fashion, because obviously, every speech he gives is supposed to be important. He's highlighting all of the stuff, right? The typical, CCP stuff. And then this picture caught everybody's eye. So this picture here, it's a really small picture, but I'll show you a more close up, okay? So this giant round table here has, Xi Jinping sitting in the middle, has people sitting on the side across from him, next to him, around this table. There's about 20 or so people, right? And he's in the middle because, he's the general secretary or whatnot. But the people beside him, so this guy to the right of him and then the guy to the left of him, people caught this as sort of a very weirdly peaceful sort of interaction, okay? So I'll show you that picture first, which I believe is this. Okay, so in this photo, Xi Jinping is seen smiling to, let me put that a little bit, to this man here to the right of him. And you see they're serving up drinks, etc., blah, blah, blah. But this photo is very important because this guy on the right, his name is Wen Jiabao, and he is the former premier. So remember, China has a general secretary who does basically the political side of things. Then he has a premier who basically handles the government, the economy, etc. So Wen Jiabao was the premier of the government before Xi Jinping. And so he's retired now, obviously. You see he's quite old. I think he's about 80, maybe 78 or something, or maybe even older, 80 something, I think. He's much older than Xi Jinping for sure. But Wen Jiabao was always seen as sort of a reformer in the sense that he was all about reforming China, not going back to the Mao Zedong era. So he's generally like, if you were talking about how bad people are, Wen is considered to be like one of the good guys, basically. In relative terms, of course, if we're considering the degree of murdering and just criminality that happens inside the CCP, Wen is considered a pretty good guy, okay? So he's generally seen as like beloved, didn't really do any criminal stuff during his time. He really ran the Chinese economy and boosted the scale of the Chinese economy. So he's clearly the opposite of what Xi Jinping's been doing, right? So this picture essentially shows you the divide between two different ideologies within the party, right? But what's happening here is that what Xi Jinping has done is he seated this guy who is not supposed to be here. So Wen Jiabao, he's the premier of like the government before Xi Jinping. But in terms of the party ranking, because you got to know, like the CCP is basically run like a mafia. There's like clear organizations, there's clear seniority at play, there's clear rankings among like the crime bosses, etc. So Wen is in no position to be seated here because there's like 3-4 other people in front of them. Now, 3 of the 4 people didn't show up this time, but there's still one more guy who is ahead of him, so he's not supposed to be seated here. So that's why this picture is so special. And you see them smiling at each other, okay? So a lot of people are saying that, hey, maybe, these guys, they're suddenly making up, right? Oh, by the way, they belong to different factions too, because Xi Jinping is about going to the Mao Zedong path, right? Whereas Wen Jiabao is more like he needs to reform, etc. Jess Loya says, did the prior general secretary die or something? He didn't die. He just didn't show up. They're all really old, right? Like whenever they have these kind of celebrations, they always have a bunch of people here because like that's just how they do things. It's kind of weird. They drag all these like 80, 90-year-old old people into the seats, whether they like it or not. And they have to kind of like start from the top, like introduce all of them and then, show them their pictures. Usually they all look really sad. Let me show you I don't know if they have a picture. Okay, maybe not this one. Does it have it here? Maybe in this. But essentially they just show all of the old people and they all look really sad. That's pretty much it. Okay, so why is this important? Well, basically Wen Jiabao, if we consider what he has been talked about in his past, Wen Jiabao has talked about things like if political reform fails, then the Cultural Revolution may return. Okay, so that's what he said before he left office. So essentially at the last press conference, this was back in 2012, before he resigned as the role of premier, he said that if we don't continue political reform, meaning the idea is that eventually the CCP would reform into a democracy, then you're gonna go back to the Mao era, right? You're gonna go back to all of these communists like killing and bloodshed and massacre and all these things. Turns out he's right, obviously, because Xi Jinping right now is kind of destroying that system of reform and putting in place his own like one-man rule, right? So Wen Jiabao said this 12 years ago, and it's turning out to be true. So the question becomes, for me at least, is why would Xi Jinping, who's been on this trajectory of talking about destroying the legacy of all these people before him, suddenly want to invite this guy onto the table to have a warm, smiley conversation at the dinner table? Okay, so one possibility is that, in my view, which I think, it's kind of far-fetched, but not really, is that something happened in the summer of this year that Xi Jinping seems to have lost a bit of his power and control. To the point where that these elders, like these people who have retired, seems to have gained back a level of stand against Xi Jinping, which is very interesting considering the fact that if you read upon the previous years of different Chinese events, and if you've been looking into China for a very long time, you'll notice in the past few years, Xi Jinping has clearly done something, which is he actively undermined these elders, right? You guys remember this video? So this was back in 2022. The former general secretary got escorted out. So I'll play this. During the 20th Party Congress, he got kicked out by Xi Jinping. I think this shocked everybody, right? Because it was like the first time we saw a clear view of what goes on behind the scenes of what's happening in the CCP, right? These people, they operate like a criminal organization. They escort people out. That's how they treat the past leaders. Okay? So this guy gets escorted out. And nobody dares to turn back, right? That's how Xi Jinping in control he was. He was able to do this in front of everybody and nobody dared to do anything about it. So that was pretty crazy, right? And then fast forward to this year, we get this picture. Yvonne Zed says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Very, very much possible. Galia says, what media do you read the most of the questions on? I'm not sure what you mean by that exactly. Do you mean like the questions of the CCP? AXM asks, what's going on exactly? So what I think is going on is that Xi Jinping has lost some power. And I'll try to justify my sort of analysis on this through evidence, okay? But like I said, we don't really know the exact details because everything operates in such a dark environment. All we can do is kind of conclude based on the evidence that we've been given. Okay, so Marcel says, finally, I see you live. Greeting from Austria. Hey, Austria was beautiful. My favorite places so far in Austria would be Hallstatt and, gosh, I can't remember the other place. Not Salzburg. I heard Salzburg is also really beautiful. We didn't get to go to Vienna, but yeah, the Hallstatt was really, really, really nice in Austria. I have to go back. And also, personal opinion, I think Austria has better schnitzels than Germany does. Gunter says, love the stream. Any tips on how I can get my dad to stop getting super jealous every time my sister and I don't think that's a proper question to ask. Okay, so this is the first guy, right? Super weird that Xi Jinping seated him next to, himself. What's even weirder is the next person, who is, let me see. I don't think there's a picture of this. Maybe if I can find it. Here. Let's see. How come they're not showing his face? Oh yeah, this is another photo of the situation. Look how happy he is. He's like smiling with the guy next to him, Wen Jiabao, right? He's like cheering everybody. I need to search this in Chinese. See if we get pictures of this. Let's see. No pictures so far. Oh yeah, this guy. This is the guy. Okay, so there was the guy sitting to his right, and then there's this guy who's sitting to his left. He's also an old guy, but he's from the government even before the Wen Jiabao government. So he's from the Jiang Zemin administration, or I guess you would say Jiang Zemin government. So this guy, he is actually like, I think the currently people who have shown up, who can still walk, he's the most senior Communist Standing Committee member, right? So his name is Li Ruihuan. Now Li is also very special because Li, unlike all the other CCP officials, this guy was truly like one of the reformers. So after the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, he joined the top echelon of Communist Party power. And within that, he tried his best to, he was actually tasked with central propaganda. So he was part of the propaganda and ideological control minister, sort of. But he tried his like effort was to put on to resist the destruction of this reform side of the CCP. In the words of people of the time, they said that he was governing with like still a little bit of conscience, where the rest of the party, was all about corruption. So this is like, in my view, him and Wen are like the two only people who are relatively good, so to speak, because he just was not into the depth of corruption with the other guys. Now he also hates Xi Jinping, by the way. So in I'll try to find the photo here. Can't seem to find where is the photo? Maybe this one. Oh yeah, so this is the photo. Finally found it. So this guy, he was seated in the 20th Party Congress. Everybody was clapping for Xi Jinping when Xi Jinping showed up, except for him. He just doesn't like the guy. He hated Xi Jinping. When Xi was giving a speech, he was also not paying attention. He was reading his own stuff. So this guy just didn't give any, he didn't care about Xi Jinping, right? So obviously he doesn't care what exactly happens to Xi Jinping, yet he's seated next to Xi this time. Code Red asks, tell what age is he going to be the president of China? Well, from the looks of it right now, it seems like he's going to be there until Xi's death, basically. Just got here. Can we have a recap why old people keep flashing in my screen? Okay, well, so basically the recap is that Xi Jinping was in the celebration called the 75th Party Foundation like gala thing or reception. And this picture is very interesting because these two guys do not agree with each other ideologically. The guy on the right, his name is Wen Jiabao. He's seen as a reformer, so he wants to get rid of the communist stuff to focus more on like economic development. And he's really opposes what Xi Jinping's been doing. And the other old guy, who is this guy, is another old guy who is really opposing what Xi Jinping's doing. So these two guys suddenly got seated next to Xi Jinping. So these two guys here, the one on the left and the one on the right, got seated next to Xi Jinping. So that's very weird. I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, that's what's happening. From Rang Sao Paladin says, how are you sure it was his own decision to kick out Wu Jintao and that other guy? Because you don't do that to, okay, so I understand your question. You don't, so even if you, so that's the way the CCP works, right, is there's a chain of seniority. Even if you are so hated within the party, whatever the case may be, right, in these public stages, you have to respect the way the party is run. Because they have their own set of rules. It's like a gang, right? So you have your gang rules, you have your gang, like sort of the laws of the land, right? Within the CCP, seniority is everything. So even if these guys are 100 years old, you do not disrespect them in the public side. You do not kick somebody out just like that, okay? So the only way for Xi to be able to do that is not because somebody else decided he wanted to leave. And I know there's some rumors about how maybe he was too tired or too unhealthy to continue. No, these people were they're all about the formality. They're all about the presentation. So in no way, shape, or form can be done voluntarily unless Xi Jinping ordered them to do so, which you see in the full video he does. And also, hello to everybody on Rumble, Twitch, and on Kick as well. Okay, Anonymous says, bro, your videos are great. Thank you very much. So I'm going to try to kind of like go a little bit slower too, because I know this is kind of weird to understand, right? So where were we? Okay, so that was 2024. Now back in 2019, this is the interesting thing, right? So every 5 or 10th year of their celebration, it's supposed to be like a bigger one. So on these like 5th and the 10th version, right? So like 75th, 70th, 65th, 60th, etc. Every 5 year or every 10 years, the celebration is bigger. So naturally in 2019, which is the 70th year, they did the same thing. They brought the big round table out, right? So to fit everybody. This time, the people seated beside Xi Jinping, on the left is the same guy as this guy here. I know the picture is really blurry, so you can't see it. But the guy they seated there is the same on the left. On the right, it was another guy who didn't show up this time. But like I said, it's really abnormal for them to seat, the white hair guy here because he clearly doesn't fit the rank of seniority. So there's people before him that's supposed to sit there. Now, one of the evidence to back up my claim as to why Xi Jinping may have lost a bit of power is that there's an article called this. So this is an article from last year, 2023, from Nikkei Asia. And it says, analysis, Xi reprimanded by elders at Beidaihe over direction of nation. So last year, so basically since 2022, when Xi Jinping was, quote unquote, re-elected for his 3rd term, there's been a uproar within the party about just people resenting what Xi Jinping's been doing. Part of that is Xi Jinping has been undercutting the elders' influence within the party, right? So it's like, imagine if you no longer care what your grandpa thinks, And in fact, you're like disrespecting your grandpa. That's what it feels like, essentially. What's all that stuff in the middle of the round table? Oh, they're like flowers, like fresh decorations and things like that. They're all about the formality. Moonhawk says, I've always been curious, what was the CCP's relationship with the USSR when the USSR was struggling? The CCP had actually a breakup with the USSR during like the 70s. And that's why Nixon decided to approach China, because China at the time was, although they were communists, they were serving as this third power to combat the USSR. So obviously, after 1991, which is after the dissolution of the USSR, Russia and China kind of went back to being friends again, and they've been friends since then. But during the period of the Soviet Union in the 70s, there was a breakup between China and the USSR. Why do they call it a party when nobody is having fun? That's a great question. Everybody seems to not be laughing whenever you see the photo of them. Anthony says, I'll never forget about Hu Jintao. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's continue with this. Now, this was last year, right? This was last summer, actually. So during this time, there was already the sense of resentment for Xi Jinping from the party elders. And party elders, they all have different factions too, right? But it seems like at the time, they banded together to try to tell Xi Jinping that if you don't change, China's going to be done, right? Not China's going to be done, but the CCP is going to be done. So this was last year. And what happened was this year during the August meeting, so this is a year later, like exactly a year later, which they have the summer meeting, right? It seems like the elders have pushed Xi Jinping to move in a direction which he was forced to do, because there was a Chinese commentary called Xi Jinping the Reformer. Okay, so this commentary was deleted after like less than a day, I believe, on the official state media. Now, in that article, which I have it right here, in English, called, so Xinhua News Agency, Xi Jinping is a reformer who inherits Deng Xiaoping's cause, okay? So this article survived for maybe like a day or so, maybe even less than that. And the article tried to paint Xi Jinping as somebody who is changing China for the better, etc. Obviously, it's not truth, but that's what Xi Jinping was trying to portray himself as on the 120th birthday of Deng Xiaoping, right? Because Deng Xiaoping, he's supposed to have helmed the reform and opening era of China. And for Xi Jinping to try to call himself a reformer, that's obviously in the party seen as a disrespect. And from this analysis, it seems like the party elders had a level of leverage to say that, no, Xi Jinping, you can't say you're a reformer, delete that stuff, okay? And then that's also around the same time when we saw that Xi Jinping disappeared for 3 weeks or so. So that's what makes me think that something happened within the party that Xi Jinping has lost a level of control. Now, how big could this be? Well, the scale is very debatable. It could be ranging anything from like Xi Jinping no longer controls the military to simply just Xi Jinping is regretting some of his decisions. He now needs to seek counsel within the elders. Okay, so the range is huge, right? The spectrum of how things have gone could be a coup to anything like small as he just wants a little bit of change. Okay, so where does this actually matter for us? Well, it does matter a lot, because right now what we're seeing is based on this photo alone. Where is it? Based on this photo alone, it's sending us a message that something's going to change within the party. We might see this in the form of a economic directional change, which we're kind of already seeing, because they're trying to wrap up the Xi economics because it's not working. We could see this in a political change. Could we see Xi Jinping stepping down? I don't know. Okay, I personally think that we might not see that, because he's so set on ruling for life that I think he's still going to try to like fight it out. Or it could simply just be something stupid, like we're going to name one of these allies of the different factions to this key position. So there's a lot of possibilities. I just want to do this because I feel like changes are coming. It's hard to explain it, but I feel like some things are changing in the CCP. It's hard to put my fingers on it yet. But if you guys are watching this, you might be the very first people to hear from me. Okay, in the coming days, I'll obviously be studying more into this to do my investigation on it, and then I'll make a video about this. But so far right now, I think there's some sort of a change within the party. It's very subtle. We haven't seen the most of it, but I think something's coming. Okay, let me let me know in the comments if you're confused. Mikey says, I see your shorts all the time, and what you're doing for the Chinese people at risk to your own life is selfless. Remember, this guy never decided to take a surprise trip to China and flip. Yeah, I don't think I'll definitely do that. Jess Loya says, could Deng have gotten rid of Cheng Yue due to Yun's lack of vision for reforms? Well, the thing is, Deng, so you raised an important question because Deng is, he comes from the elders, right? So for those of you guys who don't know, when Deng Xiaoping was in power, he was essentially like, he was not really the leader of the military or the general secretary, but he was the leader of this elderly council. And so he was like above even like the general secretary at the time. So he was able to rule as an elder. What they're trying to seemingly trying to do right now is that they're actually also trying to rule as the elders, or at least the power base of the elders is trying to compete against the power base of Xi Jinping. So to answer your question, it's very possible because at the time Deng Xiaoping was controlling everything, and he didn't really like the whole idea of political reforms. He liked the idea of economic reforms. So anybody who was seeking change, especially the people who were trying to change, you know, like Hu Yaobang or Zhao Ziyang, right? These leaders of political change, he didn't really like that, so it's very possible. Do you think we'll fight back if Xi Jinping militarily is all the elders rejected him or something? So the only way for Xi Jinping to fight back is if he still controls the military. And so we'll have to see, because if Xi Jinping no longer controls the military, then that essentially means he's lost power. Okay, so we'll just have to see. There might be signs of this we haven't picked up, but as we speak now, there's really no clear evidence suggesting that Xi Jinping has lost control. But we'll never know, right? Christy says, watching from Boise, Idaho, USA, please give dua and prayer for our election this year. Trump is creating a lot of fear in us all. Yeah, I don't know what the election is going to be like, to be honest. I personally think it might be pretty close, actually. We'll see. I'm going to be doing a live stream on election night, by the way, so I hope you guys can join us. Wheezy says, if you're not respecting your elders, you're failing in terms of filial piety. Yeah, well, it works the same way within the CCP. If you're not respecting your elders, they come back and bite you. Rangcell says, I can smell the change in the air already. Taurus says, is a storm coming? Yeah, so I actually think a storm is coming. We could see this, you know, this again, I'm not expecting this to happen overnight. But if it does happen, it could happen very quickly. It could happen a year down the line. But the idea here is that I think change is coming, and it's coming really fast. Duke says, do you think there will be a revolution? Personally, I really don't like the idea of a revolution, not because it can't happen, but because if you think about it, right? China is such a big country that if a revolution were to happen, it wouldn't happen the same way that we see in the Middle East, right? Where you see, you know, like a potential like regime change or people revolting, like, you know, the whole like what happened with Egypt, right? Where they essentially dethroned their leader. What we might see in terms of a revolution is it has to happen within the Communist Party. It has to be a side of the party which people are like, hey, I don't like you anymore. I want to like start something, right? Now the cost is bloody either way, but for the sake of the country, I think the revolution is just so hard to start. The CCP has also put into place a lot of apparatus and surveillance systems which will suppress the grassroots level revolution. So the only way that changes can happen, it has to come from the very top. And by the very top, I mean like literally a few people. That's my perspective. Aloha from Hawaii. Hello, aloha. And David from VT. David, do you think the photo is intentional propaganda to show that Xi Jinping respects the elder? Okay, great question from VT. Okay, so this question is so important. do I think that they're intentionally trying to show propaganda that this is Xi Jinping's respect for the elder? That's what they're trying to say, okay? That's what the CCP is trying to say. But the essence is not, because Xi Jinping, his actions for the last few years has been about disrespecting the elders. So why would you suddenly have a change of heart just because, say, the economy is doing bad, or that maybe the people don't like you anymore, your approval rate within the party is low? These things, they've been happening for a few years. There's no reason for Xi Jinping to suddenly get this, right? And if you look at the photo in 2019 or 2022, so this is one I forgot to show. So in 2022, they don't do this, right? 2022 is a smaller table. They only have like some of the top guys. But if you look at the 2019 photo, we didn't get any of these like warm, smiley faces, these close-up exchanges happening there. So this photo is deliberately trying to paint two things, right? One is it's distracting you to think that Xi Jinping had a change of heart on his own. But the second one is like, it doesn't really mean that Xi Jinping is voluntarily changing this, because there's no reason for him to, unless something dramatic happened. And that dramatic event, it could be beneficial for him. It could be really bad for him. Personally, I think it's bad, because usually things in the CCP don't happen for just randomly, Everything happens for a reason. I think this point will be validated very soon, in my view. Mert says, would you say that Xi has been a successful president in terms of economic growth, China itself? No, Xi Jinping has been the worst president for economic growth. Shabam says, love from India, buddy. Thank you very much. Orangutan says, what happened in Hong Kong? Should it be independent until 2047? I'm glad you mentioned Hong Kong, because actually, this is interesting again. From the Xi Jinping article, okay? So here's what he says. Hong Kong. Okay, so he says he extends sincere greetings to the compatriots in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, the Macau Special Administrative Region, Taiwan, as well as overseas Chinese. Okay, and then the next time he mentions Hong Kong is where is it? Hong Kong. I think I missed it. Hong Kong. Okay, so it is imperative to fully, faithfully, and resolutely implement the policy of one country, two systems, under which the people of Hong Kong administer Hong Kong and the people of Macau administer Macau. Okay, so this is a very, very important change, okay? This one here. Under which the people of Hong Kong administer Hong Kong and the people of Macau administer Macau. The wording of this was different from previous years, because in previous years, what Xi Jinping's message was that the mainland Chinese, or the Chinese, the pro-mainland Chinese, are supposed to administer Hong Kong and Macau, not the people of Hong Kong. So this change of language is one big indicator of something changing, actually. Because now he's changing his words. He's saying that, oh yeah, the people of Hong Kong should be the one who govern Hong Kong. Because if that was the case, then they would need to revert what they did in 2019 and 2020 to the city of Hong Kong. They'd have to give back all of their mainland control to the people of Hong Kong again, which was a national security law enacted by Xi Jinping, right? And his government. Same thing with Macau, right? Now he's saying that the people of Macau needs to govern Macau, not the people of mainland. And he says that with both a high degree of autonomy. So he's going back on his words. It's super weird to do that. Like, nobody does that, except if something changes, of course. And there's also another point here, which I hope Belt and Road. Belt and Road, okay. I can't even zoom in, apparently. Okay. There is no mention of the One Belt, One Road initiative in this entire read. There is not a single time he mentioned Belt and Road initiative. Not a single time. Or One Belt, One Road, okay? His proud project, the infrastructure project, is not mentioned it once. That's really weird. Could she make higher up elders disappear like when he do to normal peps? Or is he scared of their power since some people in the military. Yeah, Xi Jinping can't make any of the elders disappear because it's all about the respect, but he can undermine their influence. Why is he backpedaling now? So, great question. I personally think something major happened within the party. It's forcing him to. I'm not so sure what kind of a major event that is. It's very difficult to tell at the moment, but it has to be something major. Mars says, you seem excited that something changed. I am, yeah, actually. I think something did change. Pretty concrete this time. Might seem, we're still at the early stage, but I do think something did change. What do you think about the terrorist attack, the pager exploding? I think, well, I did a video on this. Some Chinese people were pretty scared that iPhones and Teslas were exploding. What is the equivalent of accidentally falling out of a window in China? Becoming an organ donor, perhaps? You're exactly right. Noten AI says, if the party regains control, do you think Xi is going to do something risky to stay in power and unify the country? Unify the country, I don't know. Staying in power, I don't know if that's up to him. I mean, if he's already lost power, it's hard to get it back. The only way, again, like I said, is if he has control of the military. Mr. Oof says, is the military in China in favor or against Xi? Like a lot of the totalitarian nations, army wasn't a fan of that. So you're absolutely right. This is, again, a very important question you asked. The Chinese military went through rounds of cleansing and so-called purge, right? I covered this extensively last year. The purge of the rocket force, the generals who lost their power. The military is very fed up with the way Xi Jinping, because he got rid of all the people he doesn't like, and he just put in place all the people he likes. So in that sense, he really lost a lot of respect within the military, and so people are mad that what he did to the military. So there's a lot of possibility of a revolt within the Chinese military. So honestly, if there was a coup, I would expect that there would be a major, like a huge amount of support within the military. But the question is, do they have the do they have the power still to do that? Because Xi Jinping has done a lot of work to systematically remove their ability to conduct a coup. But, I mean, everything's possible, right? Nicholas says, greetings from Bulgaria. Oh, great. Hello, hello. Miss Rachel says, do you think there's a breaking apart in the party? I mean, the people are basically holding on by a thread. Yeah, so I think at the end of it, the dissolution of the Communist Party is for sure. I don't know what's going to happen to the state of China, though. Solid Tin says, what's your point on the genocide in Palestine? Sorry, I don't have an educated opinion on it. At least one that would fit my expertise. All right, so enough talking about Xi Jinping. So yeah, expect something to happen. I think sooner or later we'll see something, which I believe might be very soon. Anyways, so that's Xi Jinping. Let's talk less about him now and talk more about all these pictures. About this picture. Where is it? Yeah, this picture. This is like my favorite picture right now on the entire internet. Okay, so immediately I was like laughing really hard when I saw this. Because I'm like, this is 1984 in a picture. This is a picture worth 1,000 words. You got the Chinese National Day, you got the Chinese flag, and then you got to sneak out that little surveillance camera, because no day is going to ruin your chance to spy on the Chinese people. Because everybody knows this is so dystopian to me, but it's so funny. Soliton says, are you pro-America or anti-CCP? I guess I'm both. Natalie says, are you not going to get into trouble by talking about this? I don't think so. Hope not. I hope I don't get in trouble. Get in trouble with who? That's so funny. Truly a representation of China in one picture. I know, right? This is absolutely wild. They're like big brothers watching you, even on National Day. It's like, no matter how patriotic you are, You can't hide from the fact that you need to be spied on. Solitin, he is a psyop, obviously. Uh, yeah, I'm a CIA psyop. Does China like Taylor Swift or Katy Perry? I don't think so. Has China ever done anything to you from Hoosball? Not sure what they've done yet. I don't think they have. The bear is coming for his honey. Do you think the CCP can get Taiwan from within? They're going to try. I think the CCP is still going to try to unify Taiwan from the current looks of it, right? Like if something drastic changes, obviously that's different. But from the looks of it, they're still trying for sure. At the highest level of the CCP, is only Han Chinese or is there Jewish interest? I don't think there's Jewish interest in the highest level of the CCP. What's the CCP? What's the China going to do about the low birthing rate? They can't do anything really. Solitin asks, do you really support the policies of the Americans or do you only support them because they are anti-CCP? I think I support policies that are rational. Creator Clip says, can you please talk about Tibet being renamed? Has it been renamed? I'm not so caught up on that. I'm gonna post this picture on my on the YouTube communities and see what the response would be. This is like my favorite picture of the year. I don't know. I think it's such a great representation of China in a picture. I'm gonna do a how do I do a poll on this? Image poll? No, not image poll. Oh, I guess I can only do a picture. That's dumb. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's my favorite picture. I love it. So I might make this my background for the stream next time. Big Brother's watching us. Yeah, it's definitely watching us. All right. Okay, another funny, interesting thing, because somebody mentioned this, so I guess I'll talk about it. The CIA made a video saying that they want to seek informants in North Korea, Iran, and China. Okay, so this one is like they made a 2-minute video where they're basically telling you how you can send information to them anonymously. So they made a video in the Korean language. What is the language for Iran called? No. Oh gosh, I'm blanking out. But it's not Arabic. If you guys know what the language this is, what is it called? Oh my god, I'm blanking out. And then also in Chinese, telling you how to report their government. ADS and you says, oh, they definitely have people watching this channel. Which people, the CIA or or the CCP? You better worship that flag. Oh yeah, exactly. Farsi, oh my god, Farsi. Oh my god, I'm blanking out. Farsi, that's it. Yeah, I think they have it in Farsi. That's right. Do they buy Taiwanese boba tea in mainland China? I'm sure they do. Is it Arabic? I thought it was Farsi. Is it not? What does Farsi look like? I don't know, man. I'm going to sound super disrespectful, but I have no idea what the difference between these two are. Yeah. OTK333, thank you for the $5. Could you see China going to war soon? And if so, how do you think it will happen? So under normal circumstances, China going to war will be something that we've never seen before. It's going to be the biggest conflict. Like if there's dead set on invading Taiwan, it will be the biggest conflict we'll see this decade. Well, I guess it will be the next decade, right? Or this decade and the next decade, I guess. But if they're just doing something like where they're trying to win without firing a shot, that would be through the infiltration of the Taiwanese system. And going to war in China's sense doesn't necessarily mean going to war with Taiwan. They have to be ready to go to war with Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, Australia, and the United States. So how I think it's going to happen, I think it's going to be a very much, it could be an escalatory war, but it will start small. It will start with a amphibious assault. That's under normal circumstance. Now, with that being said, there is a lot of factors that could hinder Xi Jinping from doing that. One of them is if he loses power or if he's removed from power, which could be a possibility. It's not 100% yet. It's some, or if he dies. Okay, those are the two basically big factors from preventing that. Or if there's some really big force within the party who just says, we won't do it. But from the looks of it right now, he's still on the trajectory of preparing for war. Okay, so we got that. Oh yeah, and also I found this video, which I found was very interesting. This is gosh, I don't want to do music. So these are Chinese SWAT members. Why is this so small? The heck? On the big one, it's tiny. How do I zoom in on this? Anyways. So I swear, okay, so this is in Shanghai at the Bund. I swear these are hired models. I don't think they're actually SWAT team members. They don't look trained at all to me. And they're wearing all these gears. I don't know what they're trying to protect against. People were stabbing people? Like, like she clearly doesn't look like she's a SWAT member. She looks like she's a model. There's no way she's a SWAT member. Do you think she's a SWAT member? Persian. Persian is Farsi, isn't it? Iranians speak Farsi, yeah. I don't think they speak Arabic. Why are they carrying guitar cases? I don't know. You need some entertainment. Who cares? Just beautiful. Yeah, it's like one of those things like China will fake the attraction, right? They make SWAT team members an attraction of this. It's like, because you know how you have the Royal Queen's Guard or the King's Guards in front of the Buckingham Palace, right? People go there to take photos with the horse and the guards. In China, it's like SWAT team members. You gotta take photos with them. This is pretty cool. All right, so I saw this as well. We often see videos of people saying how great China's infrastructure is, right? Well, this is one big infrastructure project. Oh gosh, I can't change the size of this for some reason. I don't know why. It won't let me. See, it's like it won't let me change it anymore. I don't know what it is, the problem. I kind of hate OBS sometimes. So apologize for the viewers on this long form. It's not letting me make it bigger. Scale filtering, enable preview. How do I maximize it? Transform, stretch the screen. I think that's it. There we go. Well, that's stretched. I don't want it stretched actually. Transform, center to screen, fit to screen. Is that it? Nope, it's still small. Dang it. Okay, whatever. Let's just play the video. So this is, near Beijing is a place called Xiong'an, and I did a video on this too. It's a giant infrastructure project. It's a subway station or a train hall. It's huge, and there's nobody there. It's crazy. So it's just super empty. You see a few passengers, but it's not the place that they're making this out to be. They spent all of their money on this infrastructure project, and it's just like empty. It's so crazy. Like China, it's absolutely, they spend so much money. All of their, like a lot of their growth came from building infrastructure, which I mean, it's nice, but it's just kind of pointless if you have nobody to use it. So it's a money waster too. So when people, these CCP shells talking about how great China's infrastructure is, like cool, but it's such a waste of money because it's not getting used. So it's a Xiong'an railway station. It's like the size of an airport. Like imagine giving all that money to, people who are poor in China. That'd be great, wouldn't it? I think that'd be wonderful. What's with the Chinese and the Taliban? Why did the Taliban work with China while China is literally suppressing the Uyghur? Also, many Turkmenistan Islamic Party fighters are in the Taliban. Yeah, because China is a terrorist group in itself. It loves to be hanging out with terrorist groups. And yeah, obviously, it wants relationship within the Taliban to control what's happening in the country of Afghan, right? So they want to do that. But also, because the thing is, like, there's so many different sort of subgroups within China that they want to control, the Uyghurs being the biggest one of them. So it doesn't hurt for them to like one or the other, right? Because if you really think about it, like, there's a lot of countries who are Muslim who don't care about the Uyghur situation. So, but they're friends with China. All he says, why is it not being used, David? It's not being used because this place is a failed project. They literally built this whole place. I'll show you. So they built this giant economic zone called Xiong'an, and nobody wants to move there. So they got like giant arenas. It's a huge place next to a reservoir, and nobody wants to use it. It's supposed to be the city of the future, but nobody cares about it in China. No business wants to move there. It's a failed project because it's not anywhere near like the ocean. It's not an economic area. They want Afghans' resources. Yeah, they do. Okay, and then I also saw this video, which I think I did a shorts just now. I think it's super important. Let's have a listen.
I hear a lot in the U.S. People praise, Wall Street people praise state capitalism in China. Look at how efficient things get done, decisions get made so quick and so effective. It can roll over a policy overnight, nationwide. And here in the U.S., we need to go through Congress, Senate, and debate. And
right.
I have to say, for a Chinese living in China, Chinese, if you ask one thing everyone crave for is what? It's not food, it's not homes. Everyone crave for democracy. I know there's a lot of negativities in the US about the political system, but don't forget, 8,000 miles away, people in China are looking at it, longing for it.
Do you think there will be democracy here? Let's say I'm going to put a time frame on it. In 20 years?
Sooner.
You're an optimist.
I am.
Yeah, so she's a Chinese billionaire woman named Jang Shen. She founded Soho China, which is is it a real estate or a construction company? But yeah, but then she made an interesting move. She basically sold off her business venture in China and came to the United States, immigrated, bought some big building. I think the Morgan Chase building or the Goldman Sachs building. I can't remember which one she did. Let's look at her. But yeah, what she said is absolutely true. People in China long for the life of America, the system of America, whereas, these CCP shells online, they're saying how messy America is. Well, you know what? People really like America for what it stands for. Okay, a lot of people in China, that is. Okay, let's look at her. What is she? Oh, she went to Cambridge. She was the co-founder and former CEO of Soho China, a Chinese office building developer. She stepped down from the role of CEO on 7th of September 2022 in order to focus on supporting the arts and philanthropic pursuits. She has since taken on the role of founder and of Closer Media, a New York-based film production company and financier. Interesting. So yeah, I don't know when she gave that speech, but it's pretty important. Okay, last few minutes, let's talk about this. So a Chinese businessman named Ren Jiqiang, he was an outspoken critic of the CCP. He got 18 years of jail time in September of 2020, sorry. Piles of Socks says, big fan of you, man. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Remember how the CCP flipped out about Guns N' Roses naming their album Chinese Democracy? Yeah, for sure. When their money is gone, Chinese people will go berserk. Yep. Are you getting facts on Wikipedia? But no, I'm not getting facts on there, but I'm getting the basic information on there. Ollie says, also thanks for answering my question and showing evidence with your answer. You're welcome. Stab says, hello from Norway. I find it very educational to learn about this since China have an interesting angle on economic advantage over the rest of the world. I appreciate the insight. Hello from Hong Kong. Thanks for joining us from Hong Kong. Yvonne says, can they buy there? Yes, would they want to? Absolutely not, tofu treks. This is a good accent for someone whose first language is not English. She's very well educated. She's Harvard educated. She's worked in Hong Kong. She's lived her life overseas. So she's a very well educated woman. Yeah. Yeah, I think that there was a concert in the 90s, wasn't it? Did Guns N' Roses do the Tibet concert? Guns N' Roses Tibet concert. I think that's what they did, right? Yeah, it was a Chinese democracy tour by Guns N' Roses. Okay, so Ren Zhiqiang was a very outspoken critic of the CCP. He got 18 years of jail in 2020, essentially for offending Xi Jinping. And they found him guilty, he had to pay money, and then he went to jail. Well, now the daughter of this jailed tycoon has come out penning an open letter to Xi Jinping because her father's situation has gotten worse, his health has deteriorated, so they're asking her to, or she's asking him to let him get out of prison to receive treatment overseas, and let's see if Xi Jinping allows it. Actually, in fact, Jang Shen, the billionaire woman we just covered, she also agreed to let this guy out. But this is pretty funny because when you criticize the CCP, right? Doesn't matter if you have a lot of money. It doesn't matter if you are influential like Jack Ma. As long as you do it and they don't like it, they put you away. But if you have some power, if you're a CCP official, you can criticize all you want, just not openly. So there's two different dynamics, right? Because billionaires, they can openly criticize once, just once, and then they disappear. But if you're a CCP official, you can't openly criticize because that brings the shame to the party, but you can do it a lot secretly, and you can still be pretty rich. So that's why people in China don't just become billionaires. They become billionaires, then they go try to become a CCP official because that's the only way for them to survive. And yeah, so that's also personally, I think why, the likes of Zhang Shen, who decided to, move to the US is such a smart move because ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money you have. As long as you try to practice freedom of speech, you're immediately disappeared and jailed. Tencent might buy Ubisoft. Yeah. I think they what? What about the disappearance of Jack Ma? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Jack Ma disappeared, and then he was essentially given the talk saying that you can't criticize anymore. If you do, you're going to disappear. All right, I think that's it to end our stream today. Hope you guys enjoy the content. And if you want to support the channel, make sure to check out davidzhang.net, actually. I'll show you this before we leave. We got a great shirt here if you want to support the channel. So again, this is on davidzhang.net, West Taiwan shirt. This actually was suggested by a viewer, so we put it out onto a shirt. We'll always have these, special designs come out. These are limited edition, obviously, so they'll go away after a while, usually a month or two, and you won't be able to get it anymore. So if you want to support the channel, you want something that sends a message, check these out. They're $15. Ships worldwide, and these shirts are very quality because they're not made in China. They're made around the world. So you get them factory made, printed, and shipped to you for $15. So yeah, check out davidzhang.net. Check out our other merch as well. If you like it, I'll put the link in the description as well as in the chat, so you guys can go check it out. And have a good one. Take care, everybody.